Hello and Assalamu alaikum. I'm back with another walkthrough on Pwnedlabs, and this time we will be solving Intro to Azure Recon with BloodHound. So in this lab, we probably will be exploring BloodHound and Azure Hound and see how it works and how it can help us in auditing or performing penetration test on Azure environments. So in the start, we have some credentials given for Azure portal. Jose Rodriguez is the user that we have, and let's see the scenario. After discovering that a public company GitHub repository contained accidentally committed credentials, Mega Big Tech has requested us to investigate the extent of potential exposure. They want to determine if these credentials can be used to access their cloud environment and if any confidential data is at risk. So supposedly some breach happened via GitHub repository for Mega Big Tech, and they want us to investigate how bad it is. So we have been given a set of credentials here, and we will be using some tools, probably Azure Hound and BloodHound, to explore this. So let's see what is BloodHound. Yeah, so it is a tool that creates graphs for you so that you can see the information in graphical format, and this is primarily used for Active Directory environments, but we have an add-on for BloodHound with the name of Azure Hound. Let's see it as well. So here you can see it is also from SpectreOps, and it is an add-on Azure data exporter for BloodHound. So we can see our Azure data from Azure Hound and then export it into import it into BloodHound and see it in graphical format. So let's begin. I have already set up BloodHound with me, and I won't be setting it up. So it is recommended to do it on your own because each operating system has its own steps and technicalities. So let's access our BloodHound UI, and here you can see that we have a UI with Explore, and we have some options like group management and download collectors. For downloading Azure Hound, you can download it from their repo as well, or you can come here in download collectors, and from here you can download Azure Hound. It is a binary. Azure Hound is a binary that will fetch the data from Azure, and then we will add that or ingest that data into BloodHound for a graphical representation. So let's see how it is used. So we will be using this command. We have to pass in the username, we have to pass in the password, and we have to give the tenant ID, and we will be outputting the data collected from Azure to this JSON file. So we can get the the tenant ID from this command or from this endpoint, like this mentioned here, or it is also mentioned in the walkthrough on this website, but I like to keep it simple. I'll just go on Azure portal, and I have already logged into this user. Remember, this user is provided to us as an entry point, so I just logged into this user. Let me give the password here again. And to fetch the tenant ID, you have to go to this, or maybe tenant properties is an option, but you have to go to this wheel, and then you can here under directory ID see this is the tenant ID. So what we will do now is that we need to run the Azure Hound. So I have it somewhere in, yeah, Azure Hound. Yeah, so what is the username? Where is it? Sorry, let's close BloodHound. And the username is this. And password is this, whereas the tenant, or is it represented by just T? Yeah, it is this. Okay, and then we need to output it into, you know, Azure hound.json. So let's just execute it. Okay, so what did I miss? Unknown. What am I missing? Do we have quotations around the file name as well? Nope. So unknown shorthand. Oh, I have mentioned -u, -p, and then -t. Or maybe we do not need to specify codes, do we? Well, let's see what is done here. We have to specify codes. Okay, list tenant. I am missing the list command, I believe. Yeah, so list, yes. So failed to create new Azure client, malformed error response, status code 404. Let me give it sudo. No, still not working. Let me just that should not be an issue. List tenant, we have this, yeah. Something is not quite right. I do not need sudo. I just need to list -u. Is this the exact command? Azure Hound list -u -p -t, and then outputting. Sounds correct. -u -p list tenant. Maybe let's give tenant instead of oh shit, man. I am really sorry. I'm definitely missing a speech mark and quotation here. That's terrible. But it's still not happy. Oh, what is going on? Okay, sorry. So I have to give list in the beginning. Oh no, what's going on here? -- tenant. Failed to create new Azure client. This is Strange. Maybe let's just replace our command with single quotes. Again, should not be an issue, but let's try. And it worked. Oh my god. I'm really sorry guys, I do not really know what was wrong with double quotes, but nevertheless we accidentally closed it, and here we have our azurehound.json file. That is the output from azurehound. We need to import it into this BloodHound section, and in order to do so we need to go to administration and then select upload files, and that's just select that file from there and let it load for a couple of minutes. Once it is done, you can come back to this explore section, and now you can search for different types of objects. To start off, we will just start off with the information that we currently have. Let's just look at the user or user object in this graph. So if we select our user, that is our current entry point, and we search for it, we get this circle here, and if we select it, we can see different information here regarding display name, object ID, when it is created, is it enabled or not, is it synced with on-prem, and other information. Similarly, we have this. If we expand this, we can see that this user is member of this group, IT help desk, and if we want to see the roles this user has, then we have different roles assigned to this user. Only one role is directly assigned to this user, and that is of update manager, but rest of the roles are assigned to this group, and since this user is part of this group, then these roles are applicable on this user Joe's as well. So the roles that we have here are update manager, attribute assignment reader, attribute definition reader, printer technician, directory readers. So directory readers, or we all know that this is for checking the details in Entra ID or Active Directory in Azure portal, but rest of the roles are interesting. So we have update manager here, and if we just select this one, then it says that it allows help desk staff to update the manager role when users change teams. Okay, and we have some other roles like printer technician can register and unregistered printers and update printer status. I don't think so that it is going to be very useful. And we have attribute definition reader, read the definition of custom security attributes. This is interesting. And then we have read custom security attribute keys and values for supported Microsoft Entra objects. So these two roles are interesting. It is something new in Entra ID, and that is custom security attributes. Let's Google it out. So custom security attributes in Entra are business specific attributes, key value pairs that you can define and assign to Microsoft Entra objects. These attributes can be used to store information, categorize objects, and blah blah blah. So seemingly the role that we have allows us to read custom security attributes on of different users and supposedly in the Entra. So let's go to Entra and let's see if we can read the custom security attributes. So in users, and then we have, for example, this user here, and here we have this custom security attributes, and we can see that this user do not have any custom security attributes added to its user profile. So we can see that we have 84 users here, and one by one going into every user can be time consuming. So we can definitely automate this using this PowerShell script using Microsoft Graph, and this is provided in the Pwnedlabs official documentation, and you can see there that we are connecting to the Microsoft Graph, then we are fetching all the users, and then we are iterating over those users for finding the custom security attributes, and then just print those attributes. This library is currently having a bug in macOS, therefore I'm unable to run this, but it can definitely be a great option if it is working fine in your operating system, and obviously it is better than manually going and opening the users and reading the custom security attributes. For the sake of brevity, I can go directly to the archive user, because that's the user that contains the custom security attributes, and here we can see that this user has password and its assigned value is data security. So it is eventually leaking information, sensitive information that is added to custom security attributes. So how Azure Hound helped us here is that it just provided us a graphical way to look at different users and their roles assigned. We could have definitely come here and directly audited the Entra ID. This is just a tool that allows you to look at the graphs, and if there are a lot of users, it definitely helps to use Azure Hound. Similarly, it has this Cypher query here, and if you search online for Azure Hound Cypher queries, so you get some templates and sample queries as well that you can use to further refine your searches and data, and find data from the output that we got from Azure Hound. So let's move forward. I think that should be pretty much it for Azure Hound. So far we learned that one, we should definitely not store sensitive information in custom security attributes. This is not what it is for. It is for storing information like hourly salaries and some other attributes that obviously is not sensitive. It is for sure not visible to all Entra users, but the ones having this role of attribute assignment reader, and what was the other, attribute definition reader. So definitely ideally do not include sensitive information in custom security attributes, but on top of that, also make sure, this is from the defense perspective, also make sure that you do not give these two roles to everyone in the organization, or maybe just audit who is actually having this role, and only the required users have these, and it is not giving to the one that do not really needs it, considering the least privilege principle. So moving forward, we have one limitation of this Azure Hound and BloodHound tool, and that is that it do not gives us the list of roles assigned to this user from Azure subscriptions or resource groups or individual resources. So we do not know what roles this user has in Azure subscription. So for that, we need to go to this Entra ID again, and then just open our user. So if we go to Azure role assignments, yeah, so we can definitely see this assigned roles shows us the roles that we have in Entra, and these are the roles that we saw in BloodHound as well. Printer technician, we saw update manager is our role directly, and while the other 4 are coming from the group, and these are the Entra roles that are applicable in Entra, whereas this is the role that we have in Azure subscription. So what does it mean? This is a reader role on the resource security PC, which means that we can read the configuration of this virtual machine with the name of security PC. So if we can read it, so why not just read it? Let's open security PC. The concept that this lab is trying to teach here is that there is also another place where you should look for sensitive information disclosure in auditing Azure environments, and that is placed in, where was it? Yeah, in operating system. So if we scroll down here, we can see that there are some credentials mentioned in this user data field. And what is user data field? Pass script, configuration file, or other data that will be accessible to your application throughout the lifetime of the virtual machine. Don't use user data for storing your secrets or passwords, obviously, but what stops a human from doing so? Nothing. A single line can stop no one, right? So, and rightly so, we have some credentials here of a user, and it is downloading a blob with the name of a file with the name of config latest.xml, and it is being downloaded from container security PC. So let's move forward and log in using this user that we can see here. Let me just copy this password. I've already logged into this user while solving this lab for the first time. So the same user should be appended with this domain name at megabigtech.com, and the password is the same. And when we log into this user, let's go to the storage accounts, because in the user data we saw that this user was being used to download some file from storage account. This is the storage account, and from here let's go to containers, security PC is, and then this is the file that contains the flag here. You can just download it and just copy paste the flag in Pwnedlabs. So that's pretty much it. I personally feel that there was no straightforward flow to this lab, but it taught 2 different concepts. One was the usage of those custom security attribute roles, that you should be very mindful in giving those roles, and that you should not be storing sensitive information in custom security attributes, and that stops there. But the second concept is that you should not store sensitive credentials. Obviously credentials are sensitive, but sensitive information in user data field of virtual machines, and these are the 2 exact things that you can audit as well while performing your Azure security audits. And also we got a taste of what is BloodHound and Azure Hound in this lab. So I hope you liked the walkthrough. Do let me know the feedback. I'll be back with next labs in Azure series of Pwnedlabs. Thank you.